that these sessions are recorded so that people who didn't manage to make it can, watch them in their own time. So I hope everyone feels safe still with that. It's a very nice meetup today. We'll be going through the roadmap. We'll also have some very cool demos for the community. So we're very excited to be hosting. For those who don't know me, my name is VT, and I've been a member of this community for a while now. And Nick bullies me into doing all sorts of things. I joke. I really, really enjoy contributing any way I can. So just to give an idea or an indication of where we are in the year, obviously we have different themes for the different meetups that we have. So this is where you are today. So today's one will be on community quarterly builds. So the roadmap, some ideation and the demos. So they're easy to use banking tools. There's some really nice stuff that some of the nice people in the community have been working on that would be really, really cool for everyone to start using. Oh, sorry, just lost my mouse. Seriously, I think it's not a very good day for me to be using computers today. Cool, like I said, so we're gonna try to keep this tight and run for an hour as we do with all our meetups. So we've just had the welcome and intro. Hi again, hope everyone is feeling safe. Looks like everyone has power, at least most of us do, which is good. And then what we're gonna do next is Wayne is gonna take us through the Investec Technical Roadmap for Q4. After that, we're gonna have a demo. If you don't know, we recently had the EskomSePush build, trying to solve the electricity crisis and working our ways around it. So we'll have a very cool demo there from Devin. After that, Nick is gonna walk us through the bounties program, which I'm personally very excited about. Very nice format to be following, easy again, making all these tools very accessible to the community. Then after that, we're gonna wrap up. And if you wanna hang around and chat with people, get to know other people, share some jokes, share what you're working on, you're more than welcome to. Cool, so up next, we're gonna have the technical roadmap with Wayne.
Thank you. Do you have my slide here there, Nick? Are you just gonna go next?
Yeah.
My slide.
Your single slide, but I'm sure you're going to talk very much about it.
It's my best work. What do you mean?
Oh yes, it's written out. Nice. There's numbers. Awesome. Cool.
No, I even made the fonts the same size. Everything. Look, it's perfect. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. So, I just wanted to give us an update around what's happening in Q4 around all the stuff. A lot of the stuff we've been busy on. It's sort of getting to a close as the year is closing out. So let's just quickly go through that. So the streamline the onboarding process. I don't know if you know, like when you join the community, you want access to programmable banking and the API. It's quite a manual process. We're looking at like streamlining that so you can click, anybody can enroll, get it over with, like without having to wait a day or two to do stuff. So it's like making it your problem, not ours, which is nice. Okay, the pagination thing, just if you have a lot of cards on the programmable banking screen, which happens in businesses, like we have one client with 1,000 cards, that screen becomes basically unusable because it's trying to load that whole list of things into the screen. So Ernie's gone and built pagination and a search in there. So if you have lots of cards and you run a business, this is very useful. If you have 2 cards, you probably wouldn't notice the difference. So it's one of those changes. The low code, no code thing, we've been on this vibe now for probably 6 months at least. Nick, how long has it been? Yeah. The main artifact we have out of it now is a spreadsheet that basically is connected to Investec. You can click on it, you can enroll. So we're just going through the last checks and balances and getting approval to do all these things. But we have a working version of a spreadsheet that basically live connects to Investec, refreshes, all of that stuff. So hopefully, if all goes well, you'll be seeing that quite soon. Then the beneficiary payments. So we had transfers in the API for a while now. I don't know if everybody knows. We added beneficiary payments a while back. We launched it to our first client, which is Nick, to help us with the testing now. So it's done, and we are hopefully that will also be quite soon. So you see a lot of the stuff is like, let's just finish it off for the year and we'll have made a good bunch of wins here. Just stop me if I'm confusing anybody or talking funny. Okay. Where was I? Beneficiary payments. Yeah, portfolio view. I don't know if people know what that is. That was like a little pet project we had, not a pet project. So if you have a stockbroking account at Investec or you have shares in that stockbroking account, you can basically, using this thing now, pull your portfolio from the API without. So similar to how you get your transaction history or your banking stuff, you can actually get your share portfolio as well from the API. So it was done as part of a little internal hackathon with our IT grads, the team that built this one. So it's good quality. We're hoping to also go live with that quite soon. So that's quite exciting. If you're more on the investment side, there might be some interesting things in there. And the virtual cards, I think that's been on this deck for 2 years now. I can almost with certainty say you should see something in Q1 next year. So that's my super commitment there. So we're very excited for that one, because obviously with programmable banking, it adds a lot of opportunities and things that like you haven't thought of yet, like spinning up a card, putting code on it, executing, doing things. So that's quite an exciting one. It's taken a while, but hopefully you will be seeing that quite soon. And then just there's a piece of work, but this is just for information. Around our gateway currently is on Apogee, which is the Google gateway. We are migrating it into Azure APIM. So there's a big project we have to do all that migration. It probably won't be visible, all the effects. Like we're hoping like that the experience is so smooth, you don't realize it, obviously. So, but that will be occupying our time quite a bit in the next while. And then as we're heading towards the end of the year, I don't know if anybody's got this feeling, but like we're all tired and you just want to clean up now, finish for the year, and then go and leave. So I think we're all in that vibe at this moment. Cool. So any questions here? I think if we get all of this done before the end of the year, we would have had a really good year. There's really powerful things in like beneficiary payments. If we get that portfolio view out, it's like really cool.
Sorry, Wayne, I got a question. Sorry, man.
Yeah.
You're saying virtual cards in Q1, and we're doing beneficiary payments. Is payments going to be before virtual cards or after virtual cards, or the actual sender payments sort of thing?
I'm not sure what you asked. Beneficiary payments.
Yeah, so there's beneficiary payments, and then there's payments of just doing a payment directly through the API, without beneficiaries. Is that still on the cards, or is that coming?
It's very unlikely that, unless there is some legislation that governs it, that banks will expose payment APIs to like anybody really, without like going through a lot of checks and balances. So we're saying like the thing with the beneficiary payment, there's a risk control on the adding of the beneficiary, and all over the world you'll see that pattern where if you go to your bank and you add a beneficiary, they're going to like do lots of checks on you, but when you pay the beneficiary, it's less checks. So it's a safer transaction, where if I'm just paying to a third party and I'm inputting bank details there, that could be quite dangerous. So we probably wouldn't be doing like normal third-party payments, but nothing stops you adding a beneficiary and then using the API to do that. That sort of helps you as well. That I'm not sure I would feel trusting if somebody could just through API make payments off my account, that I don't really want them to do it. Yeah. So yeah. True. Maybe as time evolves, like in the UK, we have PSD2 governing how payment APIs work. I know there's work happening in SA in a similar vein. So maybe in a year or two, there'll be some form of a guideline of how to approach it, and then we'll be able to do stuff like that. Just to be clear, the beneficiary payments and the transfers is just on private bank, business banking accounts. We are duplicating that stuff on the corporate side, but it's not there yet. Don't know if that's useful for anybody, but yeah.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Wayne. Any other questions? Cool. Yeah, thanks for that. I'm excited about beneficiary payments, but more excited about virtual cards. So maybe I need to start bugging you about that, and we'll get it done. Cool. Yeah. So moving right along.
Sorry, VT.
Yeah. Sorry.
Just a question. So if beneficiary payments is out with clients for testing, can I just understand what that means? I thought that this sort of forum was what you used as your playground to get first sort of feel on those types of type of functionality.
Yes, the client is Nick and
Oh,
offers it.
okay. All right. So selected clients from this forum. I understand.
Yes, yeah, no,
Okay.
there's nobody else. The
understand.
people are still quite nervous about it, obviously. So we're just taking it through, like raise the trust level one bit at a
Yeah.
time. So first just ourselves, and then we'll get Nick, and then we'll get the community. But it will land in the community before anybody else. You won't see it.
Roger that.
anywhere.
Roger that. Wayne, I understand. Sorry, I just thought that maybe there's some other forum or something out there that.
No,
Okay.
No,
should be more
Russell,
specific, but I'm used to
we're the only
blurring the
ones.
truth in PowerPoint. You see, I figured it now.
Cool. Thanks. And now we're going to have the community demo, the BadgeLife EskomSePush from the EskomSePush challenge. Cool. Devin, you can request to control my screen.
Is it, let me see. I've done this request control. Are you able to just there we go. Beans. I'm so used to
Cool.
being Zoom master, but I never see it from the other side. Okay, cool. So let's see if this will. I can't control the screen. How do I actually change the slide? There we go. Thank you. Okay, cool. So one of the things we did for EskomSePush, really cool little project. I'm going to show you the little badge that we built, because obviously it's in our name. That will hopefully give you some idea what it is. But the team that we put together was myself and a friend, Tommy. He's a pilot who currently doesn't have a plane to fly because of Comair. And so he's had a lot of time on his hands, and he's learned all sorts of random skills and had some random hobbies. So the two of us decided that we were going to put together something for this EskomSePush project. And we thought, instead of just doing a little bit of software, we wanted to push the boundaries of the project and go into hardware. And so with that, can you change next slide? Sorry, I'm for some reason not able to change them. So what we saw is obviously a lot of people have problems with load shedding. And we have the great app of EskomSePush that most people have on their phones. You obviously get those notifications all the time coming through as and when your schedule is changing, and they do a great job of that in smartphones. But what we really wanted to do was push the boundaries of that and take it out of just the smartphone section of the market and move it into more of the physical aspect, where you've got people who maybe don't have a smartphone. You've got like work environments where maybe people don't have the schedule at all of their different sites, things like that. So we want to really come out of the software side and start to push on the hardware, where we have something that you could physically see and get a gauge of what was going on with load shedding. So this was really what we wanted to do to save some time and frustrations and any niggles that people had with just having to always check their app. So the solution that we had is obviously like a physical board. And then there's a bit of software that sits between EskomSePush at the moment. And that was a Node.js system that we put together. It sort of just sits as a middle layer and pulls onto EskomSePush. And then we have this little thing called a Fire Beetle, which is an ESP32 little microcontroller that sits on the final device. That sort of just is more of a dumb device at the moment, just to get some of the details and knows which lights to light up. Will you change the slide there? Thanks. One more. That's it. So yeah, so a bit of what I'd mentioned just before, we periodically sync the Node.js app, and that was also because of that limitation of 50 calls per day. we wanted to make sure that if your device plugged in and out and did a few things, it wouldn't bombard the EskomSePush API and utilize your limit of 50 a day in quick succession. And so what the server is doing is that's caching some of the data for you. And so your device can sort of poll. We added them every 5 seconds. I mean, that can really change, but it just keeps polling to that server all of the time to just make sure what LEDs and stuff that it needed to show. So yeah, we've got on there on the device itself, there's a number of LEDs showing the stages, as well as a few LEDs on the outside that sort of they're there for people to tinker with, but ultimately we wanted them to sort of like a countdown to the next load shedding schedule, or sort of a count up to when load shedding is ended. So those were some of the sort of ideas we had. We wanted it to be very generic, basically, as well. We only had the 7 days, well, 14, but by the time we'd finished the board design, it was about 7 days left. We wanted to make it as generic as possible so that more people from the community and people who want to play around with it, you know, can find interesting ways to use it and expand on it. BT, will you change the slide for me there? So this is the renders that we have with the final product. I actually have the final product on my desk here. I'll show you in after the slides here. But basically, these renderings you'll see on the left-hand picture, you'll see the stage lights in the middle, and then the 11 lights on the outside. Sort of looking like a clock. We only had like 19 pins that we could use, and those are the 19 pins that you sort of see there. So we can do some magic to add additional LEDs and RGB type LEDs, but they require us to bump the power up a bit more as well, because this board's running at 3.3 volts. So we were slightly limited in those aspects. On the second picture, you'll see this little ESP module. So that's what you call it. It is an ESP, but this one's from a company called DF Robot. This one specifically is called the Fire Beetle. So we just made some headers that plugged in. So, you know, if you wanted to chuck this project away or, you know, change up, you wouldn't lose all your value on that side. And then we chose a 21700 battery. It's Tesla's new size. So the standard ones that you'll see in like what used to be in laptops and stuff were called an 18650. And so now there's like a new size that Tesla and a few of them have standardized on. So we've got that on the back. And then in terms of some of the challenges that we encountered, largely it was manufacturing times. So from the time that we sent the board in to the time that we received it, it was about 9 days. So it's a great turnaround time considering that it goes all the way to Shenzhen, China. And they manufacture it, test it, and then put it on a plane that goes from there to India to Dubai, back to here through customs, and then delivered to our door in 9 days. So, you know, I definitely find that quite impressive. You know, so your turnaround time is definitely getting better on manufacturing hardware, but there's obviously still it's a much slower process than software itself. And then so some of the other challenges that we faced is originally we wanted the ESP on the board, the little device, to do most of the calculations, most of the, you know, to speak to EskomSePush directly, but not as C++ was, and daytime manipulation in C++ was just quite a pain. And so, and handling JSON on that side as well was just not in my wheelhouse for that time period. So we decided that's why we had the middle layer, which made it a lot easier for us. And then one of the other random challenges was we were really like racking our brain as to what sequence to show when, you know, when load shedding is coming up or load shedding is currently on. And so, yeah, that's why we've sort of left it still quite generic. A lot of that's still going to come as we go along with this. If you pop that slide, and again, sorry. So yeah, next steps, well, basically there's still a lot of documentation that's missing. Actually, we have done the final boards, well, we've done 1 or 2, still missing a few parts to do the rest. And then, yeah, a little bit of optimization on the server code. So some of the stuff that we've looked at adding is you don't have to like pre-configure it and then load the code. We've got modules now, like when you turn it on the first time, it becomes a little Wi-Fi hotspot, and you can connect to it, give your Wi-Fi details to it, and then it connects to the Wi-Fi by itself, and then automatically connects. So it's now sort of more of a final product that if it's programmed, you can give it to somebody and they can set it up themselves. So that's some of the optimizations that we were doing. And then we were considering a serverless version as well, so that it took some of the pain out there. And yeah, I was going to ask EskomSePush just for some better date formatting from them to make it a bit easier for us. But yeah, so that's the main things there. I wanted to show you the boards now in terms of, I don't know if you can see on my camera. Is it possible to can the slides? Because then at least let me see. Yeah, so here, this is this camera. I've got 2. That's the final board that we got. So this is unpopulated. So you see it looks like that. And then the final one, unlit, is sort of like that. You'll see all the LEDs, all the pieces on there, and the ESP, as well as the battery there. And then I'll show you just sort of a test sequence for you to get an understanding of the lighting. Let's see if we can get a better image there. So
yeah, that's clear.
So yeah, so this just gives you, like, we just put a test sequence in there just so you can see the LEDs up. And then busy connecting, and then you'll see it shows stage 4. I just finished the load setting schedule, so there's not enough time in our current thing to show the LEDs on the side. So a basic one that we set up at the moment was every half an hour from 5.5 hours towards your load setting, one LED would sort of go off, so it would just slowly count down. But yeah, there's a lot of room for improvement in terms of the design and software, as well as just the functionality of the board as a whole. But I think we did pretty well in terms of the time constraints. We also got some really nice feedback from EskomSePush in terms of, looking to add like vibration. So people that are deaf or blind, and like a speaker or something. So, those that have difficulties using a cell phone or whatnot, they'll still be able to use this. So yeah, that's what we created in the hackathon. Please, is there any questions?
Yeah, I've got one. So when is the shop going to be up and running?
We'll have to see, because
cost.
Yeah.
so cost. So we'll have to see, because you'll see, like, I've got a few more here. Like, I probably have. I ordered 10, so we'll have a few. Might give out one or two. So maybe we'll have to do a raffle for that. But in terms of cost, you're probably coming in at about at this manufacturing level and just buying parts of the shop, you're probably looking at about 600 Rand per finished product. That's pretty much cost. To get the boards in and most of the parts, I probably spend about 3.5 to get it where it is now. Yeah.
Devin,
sorry,
go ahead. Devin, when you got them to print the boards for you, you must have sent them some form of electronic design beforehand? Is that just someone that circuit boards that would draw up that design?
Yeah, so there's great products at the moment for that. You get KiCad, which is free, and you get Eagle, which is free to a certain point. So myself and Tommy are quite proficient on Eagle. So we drew up the boards, put them together, and then you create a file, a folder called this a Gerber file, and that's got all the layers of the board. So there were like 10 or 11 layers. So like the silk screen, all of the pieces that go into that, and then they manufacture based on that.
I understand. Thanks.
Cool. We have two questions from Michael. The first one is, what thickness of PCB is being used? And the second one is there a battery charger included on the module containing the ESP?
Yeah, so board thickness, I think it's a 4 mil. It's a standard one that JL PCB and PCBWay, some of the bigger guys there. We just went with pretty much a stock standard build from them to keep the costs down. Because if you do that, the actual boards themselves, if you buy 5 at these sizes, it's about $2 for 5, and then it's $5 for 10. If you go up in the numbers, then at like 70 for 15, it's $15. So they want you to do lower quantities. And then the second question is, yes, the ESP does have a charge controller on it. So basically, what I haven't shown in the back there is that the ESP has to be just bridged to the board, and then that will charge the battery so that when power outage, it will run from the battery.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Devin. What is the name of that module again?
Which module?
The one that
It's
slides onto the back of the board.
You'll see just in that slide there that 5-beetle ESP32.
Okay.
You can get it from robotics, let's see what's that, or DIY electronics.
Cool. Thanks. And if you want to get in touch there, you can email Devin or you can email Tommy. And the code is also available it's been posted on the community GitLab. So you can get it there, and you can always just reach out to Devin to ask more questions. Cool. Thanks a lot for that. Is there any more questions, or that it? Cool. I'm assuming that's it. So I want to take a quick mental break and get an opportunity to win some nice swag. Firstly, let's not argue about whether it's GIF or GIF. I'm going to call it a GIF. So please drop a GIF or a meme of how you feel about how the year has gone so far in the Programmable Banking Slack channel. And the most unique reactions will get socks for the post. So if you post something very nice, you get some nice socks. So hopefully you all get an opportunity to win some cool swag. And Nick has posted the specific channel in the chat. And then from there, we'll move on to hearing about the bounties, and Nick is going to do that for us.
Thank you. Chat about the bounties. That's cool.
I don't know where we went there. Cool.
Yeah. I'll request or access. Maybe that helps. Let me know if it's approved. Okay.
Cool. I think it's declining. Is it working?
Stop the remote control. Should be clicking. You are controlling VT's computer. Yes. What is VT looking at?
It might not work. I saw a pop-up, some talking about using accessibility features and will require me to restart. So more than happy to drive for you.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. Okay, so then I'll wing this one. So if you go back to that bounties page, so the bounties, I'm going to chat about the bounties and where it's all coming from very quickly, and then to talk about the actual bounties itself. So Dan, who actually bought the core of what we're going to be building on, he's just off sick today, so I'm going to just wing it a little bit. So if there's more technical sort of questions about his code, please pretend that he's in the chat. Just ask some questions there and we'll get some answers for you. Okay, That's cool. We were playing around with well, what do we call this new round of bounties? Because we had the spreadsheet banking bounties, and now we have the banking.make thing. Please don't ask me to explain why we're calling it all banking.make. There's a whole reason for this. It's just the domain. It was there. It was easy. It was quick. It was just essentially there. Just focus on the bounty. Don't focus too much on the name itself. BT, can you please click through? Thanks, man. So all of this kind of started off with Dan wrote this really cool piece of code, and you guys have seen it for the last quarter, because we've been talking about low code and no code for the last quarter. And he brought this Power Automate app connection, which was really cool in the spirit of low code and no code. Can you click through to the next slide, please, BT? And he thought, hey, just building out and kind of using the API to do some really cool things, and using the Power app and Power Automate to do it in. I have my views about Power Automate, and he has his views about it, but he finds it really easy to work with. So he did a very cool thing with it. Can you click through to the next slide? So I'm not going to get into too much details about how it actually works. If you've seen some of our last meetups, the recordings and the Loom videos and all of the stuff that we've been posting about it, you can take a look there. But very basically, it's a Swagger doc that is uploaded to the Power app itself, and he's made that Swagger doc available now. Or not just the Swagger doc, but the actual code itself. And that's what we're going to be all talking about now. So what he found while building this challenge, while building the actual app itself, was that he couldn't use the three-legged OAuth through Investec, because you've got to fill out all sorts of vendor forms and the whole thing. And as a normal developer, that's actually pretty tricky. And then what he also found is that it's hard to add some new custom sort of functionality to the Power Automate itself. So the workaround is that he bought a proxy, which was very cool. So we bought a very simple Express sort of this proxy that basically acts as a middleman between all of that. And I know I shouldn't say middleman around security people and banking people, but it's basically it just passes on that information. It grabs a bearer token, it fetches your token, it passes it on to Investec. It doesn't store it anywhere, it just passes it on. So we built this very simple proxy. And now he's released the code. The benefits of doing this is that he can add in more functionality to it. He can do some really cool things with it. He can add in events sort of to listen for Power Automate to listen and trigger off certain flows. He can deploy root code to the card directly based on some simple sort of whole variables. So there's a lot of things that he can do with this proxy, and to just augment his current existing sort of banking flows that he has. Can you click through to the next one? Cool. So what now is the question. Can you click through? So the idea was thinking about what happens if we open sources, if we release this and say, hey guys, here's something really cool. How do we make this into a sandbox sort of environment? How do we keep experimenting with some really cool things or plugins or extensions that we can use and leverage this sort of proxy? So we're thinking that if into a repo, and there's a number of repo sort of sources that he's got there. So all of this details, we'll post the links now about it, but these are going to become really important later on, and you're going to see why. So the endpoint is banking.make, and yes, we've gone over why it's not make.banking. And then the source code itself is on there, and there's a replit also that's running that you can use. So if you can click through. So now the bounty. So now this is the really cool part. Well, all of it is really cool, but this is the part where you can make some money. So the high level details is that so we took the lessons that we learned from the spreadsheet banking bounties that we ran earlier on this year, which was a proof of sort of our concept around doing some bounties with the community. And we took our lessons there and made it a bit more shorter, saying, let's do this in seasons. Let's say if you have 3 weekends to do these bounties in, or any of these bounties that you want to do it in. So it gives a bit of a time frame, a limit. It's not just open-ended. There's a bit of a crunch. It's a lot more focused work around it, but there's a lot more focused support around it. Each of these bounties are going to be 3 grand each to start off with, because we've got a whole variable of bounties. Oh, sorry, BT, can you go back one slide, please? Thanks, man. So the season for this season one, I forgot to mention, is that it's going to run from today, from the 27th of October to the 14th of November. So that's the one season. I promise you there's going to be a season, season two. I know how annoying it is if there's no second season of your favorite shows. So there's definitely going to be a season two. We have plans around season two. So the first bounties that we're going to be releasing is just 3, but we have a whole stock of them at the back. The first 3 that we're just putting out there, just trying to see if you guys are keen on it, if you're interested, if there's something that's really interesting, is to extend the car control to include the merchant type block and allow the list. So remember that all of this is being used on a central monolithic sort of code base. It's that plugin, it's that proxy, and when we're giving you all access to it. So extending that control into a merchant type blockchain. And then there's some research things. So for the guys who are more keen to find out about new tech, to dig into new tech, to play around, to do spikes on certain things, then we got a research sort of one, if you want to do, is to investigate Rehive. And that's actually pretty interesting. So for all of you guys who want to know about how to board a bank, you can check out Rehive, and then do a little report back to the community. And we have some criteria of kind of what we're expecting. But again, this one's the most sort of vaguest one out of the 3, but I'm really keen to see what comes out of it, And then the third sort of bounty is that, can you simulate some sample data? So Devin just did a really cool whole API for your simulator. Can you do one? Can you plug it in there? We don't care, as long as it does the functionality and the criteria that we're looking at. So you can take a look there. So now, cool. So you're excited about this. That's awesome. Now, what do you actually do? So the thing is that you can check out the community wiki, and we'll post the, oh, cool. Thanks, Shannon. So Shannon's just posted, yay, magic. So she just posted it now in the community wiki. You can take a look there, and then take a look at the bounties. If you're keen on the bounties, just if you found a bounty or an issue, because we've got it under the GitHub, so you can just take a look at those whole issues there. If you like any of them, just comment, say that you're keen, you're working on it, you're keen to start working on it, and the author of that issue will then give you the nod, give the secret handshake. He would give you the nods up, because that person will then essentially also help you board it out, or kind of be double checking to say, right, are these criteria right? Is it cool? Because it doesn't make sense. There's something that doesn't make sense there. If you're keen to carry on boarding there, then you can either clone or fork the repo if you want it to be a local sort of thing for you, or you can fork the replit. It's your choice. We've been fiddling around with Replit for a while now, for the last year, and we really dig it. It's easy to use, it's quick, it's just simple. But if you're a GitHub guy, cool. If you're a Replit guy, it's all cool. Or lady, whichever. So you can play around there. And then if you want some support, there's a Slack channel that's open now called Bounties. It's 03 community of bounties. There's a link there in all of the documentation. There you can also book some board session times, and we'll add to it and say there's a calendar to book some board session times with Dan or any of the other sort of cool community or champions. And then this is also a whole opportunity for our community champions to actually put forth some challenges that they would like to put forward to the community. If there's something that the guys feel as if, hey, this is something that can be built on further, please let us know. We'll add it to the next sort of bounty cycle, as it goes on. Any questions? Anyone excited about this? Just raise up hands, or just like a nod, or like a yeah, there's VT Marco.
I swear Nick didn't pay me to raise my hand.
I'll send that to that'll pay wallets or crypto now, I swear. But
cool. Any questions from anyone? Yay, nay, somewhere in between. Are you excited?
Yeah. If there is anything that you guys want to know, please feel free to, you can send me a link again. we'll hear you, all of these things. We're building this with you guys. If there's something that we missed, that we didn't think about, that you would, you would like to see more of, please let me know, please let us know. We want to build something that really gives you a space to kind of explore the things that you want to explore, to do the things that you want to do. And our job is simply to provide that space for you to do it in. So if it's not providing that space, please let us know so that we can make that space really cool for you. As simple as that. Okay.
Cool. Thanks, Nick. And now for some community updates. First, just I want to piggyback on what Nick just said now. This community is for you. These meetups are for you. So if something's not working for you, please let us know. If something is working and we should do more of that, please let us know as well. And also just get an opportunity to win some swag as always. So like we do at the end of every meetup, you will get a link to provide some feedback, and Nick will provide, and I swear it is a random person, to win some swag. And the next meetup will be on the 17th of November. We're going to have some fun playing around with some cool tech, as we always do, and see how all of that works. And I'll use an opportunity again to ask Wayne how far we are with the virtual cards. Cool. And yeah, that brings an end to our evening. I think I kept to the time, just a little over, I'm sorry, by 15 minutes. But I hope you all had fun and you enjoyed the demos and the presentation. Please do go and click around, play around with everything that's been presented. Everything that is built in the community is shared with the community and it's open. You can look under the hood. You can see how people went around about solving problems. And as always, you can reach out to anyone in the community, ask some questions, and maybe collaborate on some cool projects. And hope you stick around and chat. Thanks again for choosing to spend the evening with us. And if you have any questions, we can chat now.